on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about a novel, The Furies of Calderon. This is book one in a 6-book series called I believe the Codex Alera is the name of the series. Yes, Codex Alera. And this is by Jim Butcher, who wrote the Dresden Files books. You may have heard of him. And this book was at the center of what I thought was an amusing anecdote that I had heard before I saw this book. I saw this book at my work, and I went ahead and bought it, and I read through it in like a week and a half. It's like 500 pages long, but I just absolutely burned through this book pretty fast for me. I'm not necessarily a fast reader, but this book just absolutely grabbed me almost from the very beginning, and I was just thrilled to be reading it. And the story that I had heard about this book was that in the early 2000s, this came out in like 2006, I think. In the early 2000s, Jim Butcher was involved in a debate online with somebody over the merit of ideas in fiction writing. Specifically, does a good idea make or break a story? And whoever this other person was, they said that good ideas are important. And Jim Butcher was saying the idea isn't as important as the writer himself, him or herself, and the talent of the writer. And he was saying that a good writer can take a bad idea or an old, tried and true idea that you've seen a million times before, that they can take that idea and then do something good and interesting with it. And this other person was arguing, no, the idea is more important than the person writing the idea. And so Jim Butcher said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. I will take your two least favorite ideas that you have seen used elsewhere, and I will do something interesting and good with them. And so they said The Lost Legion of Rome and Pokemon. And so he wrote this 6-book series that's basically, it's set on an alternate world, and at one point in the book it's kind of hinting that all the humans from this world are descended from the Lost Legion of Rome. That there was a legion of soldiers from Rome, and that they somehow wandered into this other reality, and then they settled there, and then centuries later their culture kind of mixed and mingled with the other entities of this world. And so you get kind of there is a Caesar type character there, and then there are soldiers, and it feels very Roman, but it's set on another world. And there are these creatures, these elemental creatures, that bond themselves with the humans. And so you have this one woman, she has a water creature, it's called Rill, R-I-L. And then her brother, he has a ground creature. I can't remember what its name is. And so it is very Pokemon. And it kind of has rules of how this world works. Also similar to Pokemon. For example, people who are fire elementals, they can also bend other people's fear, make them more terrified in a given situation. People who have wood elementals, they can blend in out in the open somehow. I'm not really sure how that works. Water elementals, there's this one water elemental who gets her eyes clawed out, and then she is somehow able to regrow her eyes using her water elemental powers. So each person who is bonded with one of these creatures, they have different abilities, which is very similar to how the world of Pokemon has certain rules. Rock Pokemon are weak against water Pokemon. Water Pokemon are weak against leaf Pokemon and electric Pokemon. Electric Pokemon are strong against bird Pokemon, etc. And so I thought that was a very interesting story that Jim Butcher basically said, okay, I will prove you wrong. I will take the two ideas that you like the least, and then I will make something out of it. And he did. He takes two things that, now I don't know if I would say that they're necessarily tried and true. Pokemon, I mean, they're still making Pokemon games today, but if he was having this debate in the early 2000s, that would have been at the peak of Pokemon fever. That would have been I would have been in middle school, really standing Pokemon hard back then, and so I can imagine someone older than me saying, man, I'm sick and tired of Pokemon. Okay, why don't you make something good out of Pokemon? Yeah, right, you'll be able to do that. But I think that he did a pretty good job. Now, admittedly, I never got tired of Pokemon like this guy who was having a debate with Jim Butcher, but I still think that this book book has a very interesting origin story. Also, I just like the characters. Even the bad guys in this book, I find them to be very compelling and very interesting. Some of the bad guys here, they are doing some pretty bad things, but in their mind, they're doing them for very good reasons. This is kind of sort of the Magneto thing at work. I have always said Magneto is one of my favorite. I will go ahead and call him a villain. Talking about, say, Magneto from the movies, we're talking about a guy who is willing to murder a teenage girl to get what he wants. That is a villainous action, even if he thinks the ends justify the means, and it's going to end up being a good thing later on. That's still a villainous thing. We have some people here who are want to and do murder many people on the path to doing what they are trying to do, but they believe that if they can succeed in doing what they're trying to do, that it will be peaceful throughout the land in the long term. So our villains, while they are villains, I will categorize them like that. I still, in the very back of my mind, I kind of want them to succeed, even though it will mean that they will win against the people who are not villains. And these other people, they are loyal to, we'll just basically call him Caesar. I don't remember the title that he has, but they are loyal to the current Caesar, and they are trying to uphold the peace, and they are trying to stop this basically treason happening against their king. And so, even, I guess, more localized than that, several of our characters, they live in this little valley that this war has come to, and a big war is coming, and you've got these creatures. They're basically kind of like elves. They're described as having like very palish blue skin, and that their features are humanoid, but they are not humans necessarily. Watching this, it kind of gave me a vibe of like the Europeans coming to America and the tense relations with the tribes in America. I kind of got that vibe there, where these elvish people, their customs and their beliefs kind of reminded me a little bit of that. Sort of. And so they are kind of being dragged into this war, and then you've got different factions of them that believe different things, and I found this book to be really interesting. I don't know when I will get around to reading the rest of the series, or if I even will. My library did have books 3 through 6, did not have book 2, had 3 through 6, and there is an ebook on my library's ebook system of book 2, and so potentially I could read book 2, but I have been looking online, and almost everybody universally says that this series starts off great and then it ends really badly. Around book 4 or 5, people say that it starts to end not very good. And so I don't know, with how much other stuff that I have that I want to read, I don't know if I want to get into a series that everybody agrees ends very badly. So I'm kind of tempted to just stop here. I thought this was really good, and I kind of just want to let this be a done-in-one thing for me. But I did buy this in pretty much exclusively because of that story I had heard, but then I really enjoyed the book itself. So maybe that's something you guys will like. That is my review of The Furies of Calderon, and maybe you'll like this so much and you'll be willing to put aside any thoughts of what other people thought of how this series ended, and maybe you'll want to keep reading the rest of the series. I hope you do. But that is about all that I have to say about this one. So in the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.